Denmark's history is often told through the bright symbols of Viking ships, royal castles, and a modern society known for peace and progress. But beneath this familiar image lies a deeper and more complex story. The land we now call Denmark has been shaped by migrations, battles, myths, and quiet cultural revolutions that transformed a small northern kingdom into a nation with global influence. The earliest secrets of Denmark begin long before written records, when the region was home to scattered tribes navigating a harsh northern climate. Archaeological discoveries reveal that by the Stone Age, people building passage graves and burial mounds had already developed sophisticated rituals and social structures. These ancient communities were connected to wide networks across Europe, trading amber, a precious resource found along the Danish coasts. The presence of these distant connections, stretching all the way to the Mediterranean, hints at a Denmark that was never as isolated as it may seem. As centuries passed, the tribes of Jutland, Zealand, and other islands developed identities that slowly blended into the early Danish people. One of the hidden turning points came when these Nordic groups organized under chieftains who traded both war and diplomacy to expand their influence. By the early medieval era, this process gave rise to the Danes, who were remembered as fierce seafaring warriors. The Viking Age remains the most famous chapter of Danish history, but the reality behind it holds its own secrets. The Vikings were not simply raiders and pirates. They were also explorers, merchants, farmers, and state builders. Their voyages reached from North America to the Middle East, connecting Denmark to far more cultures than many imagine. Entire communities in Denmark grew wealthy from trade networks that stretched across Europe and into the Islamic world. The Viking ship burials found across the country reveal a society with layered hierarchies and elaborate beliefs about honor, afterlife, and divine protection. These graves show that Denmark was a land where religion, warfare, and social order were deeply intertwined. One of the most fascinating secrets of Denmark's past lies in how rapidly it moved from pagan tradition to Christianity. In the 10th century, King Harald Bluetooth declared Denmark a Christian kingdom, marking the end of centuries of Norse rituals and mythology. But history suggests that the transition was far from peaceful. Many Danes resisted abandoning the old gods, and religious tensions stretched across generations. Yet the conversion played a crucial role in integrating Denmark into the wider European world, giving it diplomatic ties and new systems of law. The famous Jelling stones, often called Denmark's birth certificate, stand as monuments to this transformation, blending ancient Viking imagery with the emerging Christian identity. These stones reveal more than a king's declaration. They show a society negotiating between old beliefs and new ideologies, shaping a cultural identity that still influences the Danish mindset today. As the medieval period unfolded, Denmark grew into a strong Scandinavian kingdom. For a time, it even commanded one of the most powerful alliances in Northern Europe, the Kalmar Union. In the late 14th century, Denmark, Norway, and Sweden were united under a single monarch. While the Union is often remembered as an administrative alliance, its true story is filled with political intrigue, shifting loyalties, and power struggles. Denmark often held dominant influence within the Union, creating resentment in Sweden and Norway. Behind these political tensions were economic ambitions, since control over the Baltic trade routes meant immense wealth. The secret strength of the Danish crown lay not only in armies, but also in its ability to control maritime access to Northern Europe, especially through the Risund Strait. For centuries, Denmark collected tolls from any ship passing between the North Sea and the Baltic Sea, turning geography into economic power. The fall of the Kalmar Union in the 16th century revealed another hidden truth. Denmark's fortunes were deeply tied to the balance of power in Scandinavia. After Sweden broke away, the two countries entered a long rivalry. Throughout the early modern era, Denmark fought multiple wars to reclaim influence, but these conflicts gradually weakened the kingdom. One of Denmark's darkest historical secrets is the catastrophic defeat to Sweden in the 17th century, when vast territories were lost. The shock of this moment reshaped Danish identity, pushing the nation to rethink its strengths and priorities. Instead of expanding through conquest, Denmark shifted toward trade, agriculture, and reforms that strengthened the state from within. The monarchy transitioned from a system of nobles and estates into an absolute monarchy, centralizing power in the crown. This transformation marked a quiet but profound shift in Danish society, setting the stage for modernization. Colonial history forms another lesser-known part of Denmark's past. Few people realize that Denmark once held colonies in the Caribbean, Africa, and India. The Danish West Indies, now the U.S. Virgin Islands, were part of a triangular trade system involving sugar, rum, and enslaved people. This chapter of history reveals a moral and economic complexity behind Denmark's global presence. Although small compared to the empires of larger European powers, Denmark participated in systems that shaped global trade and left long-lasting consequences. The decision to sell the Virgin Islands to the United States in 1917 marked the end of Denmark's colonial era. But discussions about the legacy of slavery and colonialism continue to shape historical debates within the country today. The 19th century brought another dramatic shift. After losing a major war to Prussia and Austria in 1864, Denmark surrendered significant territories and entered one of the most difficult periods in its history. Yet this loss became the catalyst for a national transformation. Instead of pursuing military strength, Denmark began investing in education, agriculture, cooperative movements, and cultural development. This quiet reinvention is one of the most important secrets behind Denmark's modern success. The focus on community-driven progress, democratic reform, and social welfare began here, long before the world recognized Denmark for its high quality of life. These changes also helped cultivate a strong national identity based on language, folklore, and shared history rather than territorial expansion. During the 20th century, Denmark continued its pattern of adaptation. In both world wars, the country faced difficult choices between resistance and survival. During World War II, Denmark was occupied by Nazi Germany, but the Danish people are remembered for one of the most remarkable acts of collective resistance: the rescue of the Jewish population. In 1943, when the Nazis planned mass arrests, thousands of Danes helped their Jewish neighbors escape to Sweden. This event reflects a deeper, cultural, long tradition of valuing community and protecting vulnerable groups. Though the country faced moral challenges during occupation, the rescue operation remains a defining moment in Danish history and a powerful example of collective courage. After the war, Denmark embraced peace, diplomacy, and international cooperation, joining the United Nations, later the European Union, and becoming a founding member of NATO allowed Denmark to influence global affairs without relying on military might. The transformation from Viking warriors to peace-oriented diplomats is one of the most remarkable arcs in European history. Denmark's modern identity as a nation of equality, innovation, and cultural openness is built on centuries of adaptation, introspection, and resilience. From ancient tribal societies to a globalized welfare state, Denmark has continually reinvented itself while preserving a strong sense of continuity. Today, the secrets of Denmark's history lie not only in ancient burial mounds or medieval castles, but in the patterns that shaped its evolution. It is a country that found strength through connection rather than isolation, survived loss by embracing reform, and built its modern success on centuries of cultural transformation. Denmark's story is a reminder that small nations can shape history through ideas, resilience, and the ability to adapt to a changing world. Its legacy is not only carved in stone or written in chronicles, but embodied in the values, traditions, and innovations that continue to shape the country's place in the world.